Welcome to the Transform Childhood Trauma Summit today. We're here with Nakia Hanson. She's going to talk to us today about some sexual assault that she had. Also, she's experienced cancer, and now she's a trauma coach helping people that need to get help through that get help. How are you today, Nakia?
I'm good. How are you?
Wonderful. I would like to start off, Nakia, with telling us a little bit about your sexual assault. The one thing I noticed that 80% of women who get sexual assault happens before they're 25. And I know you were a junior in college, so tell us a little bit about that, and then how you survived it and how you really help people now in that instance.
Right. So I was a junior in college. I was dating a popular guy on campus. And so that happened. And after that happened, I did what most survivors do. We want to forget it. We just want to move on. Um, and not really like focused on it. I was too busy trying to get out of school, and I don't have time to really deal with this, but it was really dealing with me. And I know within my community, in the African American community, we are taught to like push through the pain, and if we're able to push through so many things and endure so many things and still come out on top, we get a badge of honor for that. So that's what I was trying to do. So, but one of my professors noticed that I wasn't doing as well, and I was sitting in the back of the class, and I wasn't coming to class on time. And she told me she wanted to, take me to the counseling center. I went to that counseling center maybe two times, and then I never did return. So I was able to get through that and actually, um, leave that situation. And then for about 6 years, I was just on a destructive path. Alcohol was my coping mechanism. So I was drinking a lot. I was definitely in fight trauma response. So, I would go 0 to 100 real quick in certain situations. I couldn't keep a job to save my life. I was just so angry and just so reactive. And to the final straw, I think we all have to hit that point, that rock bottom point. And it was a moment where I had went out drinking and I came home and I don't know how I got home. And my doors were open, my garage door was open, the front door was open. I mean, anybody could have came in and repeated what I had already been through. But by the grace of God, that did not happen. And in that very moment, I decided that I needed to get some help. So I did. And so I went to counseling. I was trying to find a counselor, couldn't really find a counselor that met what I needed. So then I went another 2, 3 years without dealing with it or kind of just going through the motions. And then I met my counselor that I say she saved my life. And one of the things that she did, I was looking for someone that looked like me. And I just really couldn't find what I was looking for. And so she told me, she was like, I'm not an African American woman. I don't know what it's like to be a sexual assault survivor as an African American woman, but I have experienced trauma and I can help you. And that made me bring my wall down. And she did just that. And one of the things that she did not do, she did not give up on me. Even though I was a terrible client, I was just did not want to deal with it. I just didn't. I was on my floating path of just it happened, and let's just tell me how to move forward. Just give me the blueprint of just how to just move on. And she just didn't allow me to just do that. And so she saved my life. She is the reason why I am here before you today, and also by the grace of God. So I went through my counseling journey, and then we all still have our side effects, our triggers, but now I know how to handle those triggers. Now I know how what to do, who to call, who's in my safety circle, all of these different things. And so yes, I survived it. And now I've turned my pain into my purpose and been doing this work of relationship and sexual violence now for 27 years.
Mm-hmm.
um And so I am an advocate for my clients, even when they can't advocate for themselves. And I give them a voice and I create a safe space for them to be vulnerable and not to be weaponized by being weak or being called weak. And so they have a safe space to be seen, to be heard, to know that their voice matters, and to know that I care.
Well, I want to tell you that one theme that I get from the people, the experts that we've been doing for the summit, is that they found someone like you did that said they wouldn't give up on them and they loved them, and that's what turned them around. So
Right.
many times they have went, same with you. You'd went through a few um, experts or trauma people to help you, but at the end of the day, you found that one person. And I
Mm-hmm.
want to ask you, uh, Nakia, is how did you, because the one thing we try in childhood trauma, right, is how are we safe? And so how did you experience, I know you were probably in survival mode a lot during that time, but how did you get to the fact that you felt safe enough to go out and be around other men and just in society as well? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, yeah, it took a while. It definitely took a while, but I had to learn how to recognize what goes on in my body. I think we ignore the signs when we are triggered. So when somebody comes around you or when you are in an environment and it doesn't feel safe, your body is going to tell you. And so being able to recognize what happens within my body when I'm around certain people, and when I'm around certain people and my body starts to react, then I remove myself immediately from those situations. But it took a while for me to want to be around men again, not really trusting. And I still have my moments where I'm not too trusting. You're going to have to do a lot of proving to me, and very consistent to me that you are the person that you say that you are. And if you're not, then I'm out. But I just trust my instincts. I trust my body, and being able to be one with my body and know what happens when I don't feel safe in those moments, and giving myself permission to leave, to leave the building, to leave the environment, to leave the situation. That's what I had to do for me. And being okay with that and giving myself permission to be okay with that if I don't want to be around you or if I don't feel safe enough, that I can leave and it's okay. And I don't owe anybody an explanation of why that is happening.
Well, so many times we are hesitant to set boundaries, right? When
Right.
we go through childhood trauma. So, tell
Mm-hmm.
us a little bit about like how you had the courage, because especially when we're young and in college, typically we're in places where there's more than one person and we're in a community. So, how did you get the courage to say, "I'm setting these boundaries," and you would just when you got to that point where you didn't trust being in that situation, that you set the boundaries and you left.
Right. So I think one of the things as trauma survivors is that we have to recognize the lies that have been created for us and the lies that we have created for ourselves in order to keep ourselves safe. And once we are able to recognize where that comes from and why are we creating these particular lies and things like that, and then we start to speak our truth, then we are able to do a lot more things because we are speaking, we are standing, we are believing our truth. But when we're in the midst of survival mode, we are held bondage by a lie or something that somebody has created about us, and we hold on to that, or we have created something that justifies our unhealthy behaviors, or why we're not setting boundaries, or why we are people pleasing, or why we are doing all the things that we are doing to justify why we are doing those things. So once I identified all of that and I started to speak my truth, then it was about me. It wasn't about anybody else. It was about me. What is best for me? And I'm not setting a boundary for you. I'm setting a boundary for me. What is best for me? And if I don't set this boundary, then what is it going to cost me? Not you, but me. because you're benefiting off of whatever it is that I'm doing for you or with you or whatever. And it has nothing to do with me. And then I'm the person that's hurting for it or feeling emotionally depleted or whatever. So I have to focus on me. What is it that I'm holding on to, or what is it that I'm creating for myself where I cannot keep or create a boundary for me? And once you discover that, then you're able to set the boundary and keep the boundary. And then what is the consequence if this person doesn't respect your boundary? And are you going to be able to deal with the loss of that person? Because most of the time when you set up boundaries with people that they're operating off of what you give them, they're going to have a problem, and then they're going to make all these threats and they're going to leave, or they're going to blame you and all this other stuff. But you have to remember that they're benefiting off of you. But once you start setting that boundary and you know that it is for you and you alone, so you can be the best version of yourself, then it's easy to create the boundary and then keep the boundary.
Right. Because I know, I still have trouble setting boundaries, and I know it's a concern for a lot of people that have
Oh, well,
experienced.
you know what? You need to get my book.
Yeah. What is the book? What is the book's name?
It is called The Lies They Tell, or The Lies I Tell Myself. What is the truth? And it is a workbook for survivors of relationship and sexual violence.
Would they get that on Amazon or
They would get it on Barnes and Noble.
Barnes and Noble? Okay.
Mhm.
Well, we'll make sure that we put that on the screen as well.
Okay.
And also, Kim, you said that you got into alcohol during your during your journey in the early times. So how did you finally just overcome that? Because so many times we, as people with childhood trauma, drinking becomes something that we do,
Right.
and so it's harder to quit things like that. So tell us a little bit about how you have so much courage getting to where you are today. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it was that rock bottom moment. It was just, that one time that I didn't realize. I talked about it earlier, how I didn't know how I got home, and how that I was putting myself in jeopardy. And my counselor, she was able to show those things to me, and how it was relating to certain things from my past, and how I was using that as a coping mechanism. But once I come off of my drunkenness, then I still got the same issue. I still have the same problems. So recognizing that that is not healthy for me, and I'm just putting myself in a riskier situation to possibly have this sexual assault to happen again and again and again. And so I think when we're trying to heal alone and we don't have that support system around us, do you have a safety circle? Do you even know what that is? Do you have somebody that can hold you accountable for what you are doing to yourself, and you are going to listen to that person because you trust them? But actually just knowing that it's not doing you any good, it's just not. And so for me, I just was tired. I was tired of living this life of going out and drinking and getting drunk, because I wasn't going to the bar or going to the restaurant or whatever just to have a drink or two. No, I was going there to get drunk. But then why am I doing that to myself? Because I don't want to feel the pain. I don't want to relive what happened to me and what I experienced after my sexual assault, because my rapist ended up being my narcissist. So not only was I sexually assaulted, I experienced narcissistic abuse when nobody was even talking about narcissism. So having to just deal with all of that, I did not want to deal. But what I did not realize is that I didn't want to deal, but it was dealing with me in every area of my life. And I just got tired. I didn't want to live like that anymore. I wanted to be happy. I wanted to have peace. And the way that I was living my life, I did not have any of those things. So I just made up in my mind that I just did not want to live like that no more. And I did not want my sexual assault and my experience to take over my life. I was in my mid 20s, almost 30 years old, and I'm still going down this destructive path. I did not want that for myself.
Well, you said something there that kind of interesting is that I knew that your rapist was your boyfriend, but I didn't know that he was also a narcissist. Now I mean, I'm kind of into that because I've attracted one recently, and I just got through it. Actually, we had an interview yesterday with how do you tell if anyone is a narcissist. So I'm going to be assuming, Nakia, that there was some personal attacks and stuff during that time. Tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, well, I was a psychology major, so I knew about narcissism very well. So when those
Okay.
things were happening to me, I recognized it very, very well. And so the whole manipulation, the hot and the cold, you know, thing, leaving me and then going to his supply and all the thing narcissism brings to a relationship. I recognized it very much so, and just didn't know how to get out of it. It was like a whirlwind, and I always say that narcissism is the abuse of your mind because you feel like you're losing your mind when you are in those type of situations. And so, yeah, that was that was interesting. It was definitely interesting. And it was during a time that nobody wasn't talking about it. Everybody's talking about it now. Everybody is a narcissist now. But in back in the 90s, no one was talking about that. Everybody was labeling it as emotional abuse. And it is. But it's a different type of abuse. And so when you are in a relationship where you feel like you are losing your mind on a daily basis, not all day you feel like you are losing your everlasting mind because of your interaction with this person and you're so confused about what is this like, and you have nobody, and at that time I had nobody to talk to really about it. I mean, yeah, it was in our class, in our psychology class, but nobody was really talking about being with a narcissist and what that even looks like. So yeah, that was interesting. It was definitely an interesting time when you did not have a support system to actually talk to somebody about. And even now, even though we have all this information and people are all on TikTok and Instagram and Facebook talking about narcissism, even with my clients, they still feel alone because if you have not been through any of that, you are really not going to understand what it is like. You're
Right.
not, because people do not get it. They do not understand it. And they definitely don't understand emotional abuse or psychological abuse because you can't see it. Those wounds are on the inside. And it takes a long time for someone to recover from emotional abuse and narcissistic abuse, and especially if you are co-parenting with one, because you can't escape it. You're going to have to somehow communicate with that person about the kids, and it's just terrible because our court systems are not equipped to handle those particular situations. And I know I went off on a tangent because most of my clients are survivors of narcissistic abuse.
Well, the one thing that I realize is when somebody goes out to destroy you,
Oh
you
yeah.
don't understand how mean they can become.
Oh, yes. And
When
they're
people,
very intentional. They
yeah,
use everything that you have ever said against you. It's like they take little notes as you're talking. They take all these little notes or whatever and they put it in their back pocket and they throw it at you, and they know what to say to get a reaction out of you, and get you to, that reaction abuse that everybody's always posting. The narcissists love to post when they are able to rail up their victim, to the point to make it seem like they are the victim and she or he is the abuser, and then put them on camera, and people don't know what happened prior to that person getting to that point. And so it's so many different levels of narcissistic abuse that people just do not understand.
well, the one thing I'm going to encourage people, Nikki, is that, you know, if you're going through something, so many times, especially as we had childhood trauma, that we tend to
Hmm.
isolate and we don't look for help so much because when we
Hmm.
looked for help when we were kids, a lot of times it didn't turn out good.
Yeah, they let us down.
So
Hmm.
I'm just going to encourage somebody, if you're going through it, to reach out to you, because you can't take someplace that you haven't gone. So
Right.
you have
Exactly.
experienced it and you're
Hmm.
able to help people get there.
Right.
Now, the next thing is, and again, we're going to talk about your cancer because so many times we fear, and I was telling you a little bit. I went to get a blood test today I'm going to see my primary care physician on Monday, but it's that fear of, you know, is she going to find anything? Like right now, I'm in the best part of my life, and the one thing I don't want is somebody to find something that's going to throw me off track. So
Right.
it took me really a couple of weeks to go to get the blood test today. So once you, were you not feeling well when you detected your cancer? Tell us a little bit about how you first detected that.
Yeah, I noticed that I wasn't able to swallow. Like my food wasn't going down like it was supposed. Like, I had to like drink water in order for my food to go down, and I was like, "Well, that's weird. I don't know what that's about." So I went to the doctor because it just kept on happening. And he said, "Well, I'm going to send you to an ear, nose, and throat specialist because I don't know what that is." So I went and they did. He did this now. I would never do this ever again, but this was like the most painful thing ever. So they take a tube, they put this spray, and it's supposed to numb your nose, but it does not.
Ugh.
And they take a tube and they put it down your nose so they can see your throat. That was the most painful thing ever. And then he saw something, and then he was like, "Oh, we need to take a biopsy of it." And then they did this other procedure where they go down your throat and then take it and cut it, and it's all kind of things. So anyway, they did all that. And then October 2019, that's when I was diagnosed with throat cancer. And the funny thing is that I did not have any of the symptoms of that particular cancer. And I tell people all the time that, yeah, I didn't have any of the things that was related to throat cancer because God had to sit me down because I was living my best life. I was. I was doing all great things. I was traveling. I celebrated my birthday the entire month. But I was overly exhausting myself at work and just doing and going and doing this and doing that. People had access to me that should not have had access to me, like friendships and situationships. And so, you hear those little whispers. You need to slow down. You need to sit down. You need to get some sleep. You need to let this person go. You need to let that person go. But you ignore those things and you continue to do what you need to do in order to keep up this lifestyle that you're living in your success. And so that's what I was doing. So God was like, "Okay, I'm going to sit you down." And He did in the form of cancer. And he took my ability to walk, could not talk, and I could not eat anything I couldn't eat anything for an entire year. At one point, I couldn't talk for almost 3 months, and I definitely couldn't walk. So I went from 200 pounds, and I was thinking to myself that I need to lose some weight, but not this way. I went from 200 pounds to 132 pounds in 1 month.
Oh my gosh.
Yes. And so chemo was not my friend. Chemo, oh God, it was terrible. Radiation, I mean, that whole situation, the doctor's like, it's stage 2, you're going to be fine, you're going to be back at work in February. And no, I was not back at work in February. It was this it was a terrible experience. I have permanent nerve damage now, that affects everything in my body. So yes, I am healed from cancer, 6 years in, but I still have the after effects of cancer. And so I believe that that was God's divine intervention to say, "This is what I want you to do. These are the people that you need to let go, and these are the things that you need to do going forward because you wasn't listening to me. So I had to strip you of everything, in order for you to listen to what I was telling you." And I believe that with my whole heart. And to this day, even when I'm having moments of overly exhausting myself, I think about those moments where I couldn't talk and I couldn't communicate, and when I couldn't eat anything, and I was on a feeding tube forever and watching the Food Network channel, hoping that one day I'll be able to eat. And being in so much pain and couldn't walk, I was so weak and I just couldn't walk. And I had to relearn how to do those things all over again, the things that people take for granted every single day, swallowing your food. Who knew that there was a swallow specialist? Who knew? But I had to learn how to swallow my food. I had to learn how to chew my food. I had to learn how to walk again. And even now, I have a type of vertigo where it feels like somebody's just pulling me down, so I can fall just by walking. I can just fall down, and I have no warning that it's coming. I will just lose my balance and I'll fall. So it's all of these different things. And so now God did not heal me to survive, but he heals me for my new calling and to help people to thrive. And that's just basically meaning that those of us that are living in survival mode through our success or the things that we do in life for the kids, for everybody else, that we need to start listening to our body, mind, and spirit before God has to park you. And you don't want him to do that. And even after that journey, I went back to doing what I was doing before. And he was like, "Oh, that's what you're going to do." So I was driving in Houston on this freeway called 99. I did not take my medicine that morning, thank God. But I was on every opiate that you could think of for all the pain that I was in. But I didn't take my magic that morning. But I blacked out on the freeway. And when I came to, I was going into a ditch, so I swerved and I flipped on the freeway 6 times in my Tahoe. And the reason why I know that because there was a volunteer firefighter behind me, and he was like, "It was the most amazing thing. You flipped, and then your truck skid, and then it flipped on both four rims because the tires went everywhere." And when the ambulance people came to my truck, they was like, "Is she dead?" And he said, "No, she's not." And when I looked at my truck the next day, my whole Tahoe was dented in. I'm not supposed to be here talking to you today. I'm not supposed to be here. But on that stretcher, God was like, "Now, really? We're going to go back to doing what we were doing before?" And I was like, "Nope, nope, nope. You don't have to sit me down no more. I got it. You don't have to tell me nothing no more. I got it. No problem." No. So, and I walked away from that accident with a black eye and a bruised back. I had no internal injuries. I had nothing. By the grace of God, I am sitting here before you today. So that is always my motto. Fuel up before God parks you, because he will.
Well, I mean, the one thing that we know, if when we're reading the Bible, the people who God really chose a lot of times are the ones that had struggles, right?
Oh, yeah.
And then you overcome those.
Mhm.
But I guess tell me a little bit, Nakia, about because you had the sexual abuse, then you had the cancer. How do you get your mind to just be comfortable with moving forward, comfortable with staying safe? Because now, for me, when I talk with you, it would be all about mindset. How do I keep my mind positive and moving forward like you have? I mean, what you've accomplished is amazing, but
Mhm.
you know, how just tell people how you got the mindset and the courage and the willpower and all of those things really to be able to move forward.
Right. I just think for me, I just did not want to be in this space of not having a peace of mind. I did not want to just continue down the road that I was going on. That's not what was for me. Um, and so I made up in my mind that I'm not going to live that. That's not going to be my story. It's going to be a part of my story, but it's not going to be the main thing. And so what does Nakia have to do in order for her to move forward, for her to live the best version of her life and be the best version of herself? And especially when I became a mother, When I became a mother, that was a wrap because I did not want my daughter to see me living in survival mode. I did not want her, but she ended up seeing me living in survival mode, and she ended up seeing me battle the hardest fight ever, and that was through cancer. But I was able to redirect that and show her that no, that's not the way to live. That's not the way to be. And so she would be my motivation. But even those that don't have children, it has to come a point in your life that that's not going to be your story. That's not who you are. God made you to be something beautiful. And yes, we go through things, and yes, we go through struggles, but your story, what you have been through, can help so many other people, whether you are a therapist, whether you are a counselor, whether you are a coach, a doctor, a teacher, or whatever. You just never know who you are going to come in contact with that have been through what you have been through, and how you can support that person through that. And so I made up in my mind that that was not going to be my story. I didn't want that to be my story. And so now I got a new story, but I had to go through some things because I wasn't listening. So I had to go through that. I had to go through the sexual assault. I had to go through the narcissistic abuse. I had to go through the cancer journey and any other thing that I've been through to get where I am today, to be that confident person. And yes, do I have doubts? Do I have fears and things like that? Yes. But you know what? I know what to do with those fears when they come up. I know how to challenge that to be like, no, I'm not going to let that take over my life. And I also have people that are around me. So you heard me say, I talked about my safety circle. That's one of the things I talk about in my book. How do you create your safety circle? Your safety circle are not necessarily your friends. These are people that are going to support you, that are going to hold you accountable, that's not going to judge you or criticize you for the things that you do when you do fall off. These are the people that are going to pray for you, even when you are going through. These are the people that can sense when something is going on without you even having to say anything. These are the people that are praying with you, not for you, but with you. These are the people that will send you money even when you won't ask for it, when you don't want to ask people for help because you feel like you're going to be a burden. These are the people that step in. That is so important for survivors of sexual abuse, especially because we automatically don't trust people anyway. So when you're able to have a safety circle of someone that you can lean on because you can't do it all by yourself, and that person has the capacity for you to lean on them when you need to in your most vulnerable moments. That is so important. So I have that. And it doesn't have to be 10 people because it's definitely not 10 people, but it's definitely two. And I know when I'm going through those struggles, because I still go through it, I can pick up the phone and they will just listen to me. And sometimes you just need somebody to listen. You don't want advice and all this other stuff. You just want somebody to hear you and to see you for who you are. And so that's how I got to where I am. And God has been too good to me for me to sit around and go back to where I was doing before. So
Well, I mean, your faith is amazing. And I think that, I believe that you have to trust in God and you have to trust in the universe, something that is above you in order to get to where you're going. But the one thing I just want to hear a little bit about is your mindset. Is did you read a lot? How did you get the faith and the mindset to keep going to do what you're doing today?
I mean, faith has always been a part of my journey. So I don't know anything different than not having faith or trusting in God. And I know that some people do not have that foundation, but that was my foundation. So I don't know anything different than that. It wasn't like this shift like, oh, okay. No, it was just more so once I hit rock bottom, I knew that I did not want to stay there, so I had to change it. If if you don't deal with it, it is going to deal with you. So I had to finally deal with my it. I had to allow myself to have those emotions. I had to allow myself to scream it out, yell it out, cry it out, and giving myself permission to be okay with that, and being giving myself permission to being okay with me, of who I am, and not worry about anybody else. And I had to work with my counselor, my trauma recovery coach, and everybody else to get to that point. It wasn't an easy thing to do, but I had to make up in my mind that this is what I want, and this is how I'm going to get there. And I can't sit here for the rest of my life and just sit here and thinking that everything is going to be okay. I'm going to have to do some forward movement. I'm going to have to do the work that is required. And once I did that, then everything just started to go. But that's not to say that the struggles and the fears and the doubt and all these things that are here is still there. I just know what to do with them. I have my toolkit, I have my blueprint, I have my faith, and I have my safety circle, and I have the people that I depend on in those moments to get me through. So I it's really hard to answer that question because I don't know no different than leaning on my heavenly Father for that.
Well, it's a good place to lean, that I can tell you. I just want to ask you the question is, how did you, because child, you had the trauma to go through and then you have the sexual abuse. How do you love yourself enough or learn to love yourself enough, I guess, to say that this is my bottom and I'm going to accomplish something in my life when so many times we who have experienced childhood trauma and those types of things, we don't really like ourselves anyway.
Hmm.
So, and then when things go amok, right, then we think, oh, I deserve that, or I did, what can I do now? Oh, I'm just going to go have another drink or go do something. Because some people really never hit bottom, right? They go through stuff and they never hit bottom. But how did you pick that up and then start loving yourself enough to become the person that you are today?
People ask me that question, and I really don't know how to answer that question because it's just something that I made up in my. I keep on saying I just made up in my mind. It wasn't nothing like drastic or I don't know, like it just wasn't like it was just like I just can't stay in this space. I just can't. It's ruining my life, and I don't want to stay here. I'm drinking every day. I don't know how I'm getting home. I'm putting myself in these crazy situations, and how is that helping me? How is that moving me forward? It's not. So Nakia, what do you have to do? What do you want to do? And what do you need to do in order for this not to be where you want to be? And so I made the decision to get therapy, and I did it. I fell off, but then I went back, and then I, kept on going, and I kept on doing. And even when it got hard, I gave myself permission to stop. Like, okay, well, I just need to take a break or whatever. And then I went back to it, and I actually, completed everything and got to the point where I felt like I was okay. And if I needed to reach out for help now, reaching out for help for me, I don't do very well. It is something I'm still working on or whatever. That's why I said that safety circle is so important because they know that I won't reach out for help. So they're going to help me anyway, or they're going to pray for me anyway. But it was that moment to where this is not what I want for my life. So yes, I was sexually assaulted. Yes, it was the most terrible thing ever. Um, and going through 6 years of just destructive behavior. And when I look back on the things that I put myself in, I'm not supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be in an orange jumpsuit or dead. The situations that I was putting myself in. So it's almost just like this mirror for me that where my life flashed before my eyes and I was like, I don't want that. I don't want that. And that's not going to be my story.
You don't know how many times I've told myself the same thing is that if I wouldn't have found God, I would either be dead or in prison. And so I'm in the same boat as you because it did give me faith and it did give me direction and it did finally get to this purpose that I have now. God will get you to your purpose
Oh
if you
yeah.
just go through the struggles that He allows you to go through so you can help people. Because the
Yeah.
one thing
I
we know
mean,
is,
he went through some struggles. God went through some struggles
oh
and things
yeah,
in his life and stuff like that. So unfortunately, we do have to go through things. We do go through things, but how are we going to come out of it on the other side? And actually admitting to ourselves that we got to do the work. You got to do the work. You got to deal with it, no matter how hard it is, how painful it is. And oh, I don't want to cry about it no more. Oh, I don't want to deal with it no more. But you have to. And once you are able to get that support system, it becomes a little bit more easier to have that support as you are walking through your healing journey.
right. Well, the one thing we know is that you've got to be around supportive people. I mean, I isolated myself for about 10 years and I
Mhm.
didn't seek help. But now I have a group of people. I'm also in the Napoleon Hill Institute and I have a mastermind of 5 people.
Okay.
And I've accomplished more in 9 months than I have in the past 3 years. So being
Ooh.
around positive people and having
Hmm.
people to support you is definitely a key to moving forward. So
Hmm.
I just want to kind of wrap it up now, and I want to tell somebody that is struggling to find love for yourself, trying to find the way to keep moving forward. Get a hold of Nakia, and she can help you because she's been through so much. So, Nakia, let them not, let's just say, and we'll put it on the screen, but tell them how they can get a hold of you. And I think you said you have a special book coming out or a special course coming out in January for cancer survivors. Tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, okay. So right now I'm pivoting. I'm doing something new for the new year, and I'm not really talking about it too much. But it's not for cancer survivors. It's for your high achiever type of people, people that are operating in survival mode through their success. So that information won't be out there until January. But so my website is under construction right now. So you can send me an email if you are needing some support services, some trauma recovery services from me. So that email is jusustrct@gmail.com. Um, Also, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm doing a social media detox right now, so I will not be returning until January. That has been interesting, but it's actually been a really good thing. So anyway, but Instagram, it is just Kia. And then let's see, you can get my book on Barnes and Noble. And once again, the title of that is The Lies That They Tell, The Lies I Tell Myself. What is the truth? That is on the Barnes and Noble website. Um, yep, that's it right now.
Well, thank you so much. And the one thing we'll put in a little bit of the Bible here is we know that you are more than an overcomer because you have overcame so many things. And thank you so much, Nakia, for being here. We know that people are going to get a hold of you and you're going to do great things in your life. But thank you so much again for taking the time to encourage the people that we have here at the Transform Childhood Trauma Summit. And I know that they learned a lot from you. Thank you so
Oh,
much.
thank you. Thank you for having me.
My pleasure.